Welcome back to the Acid Trash Jamboree, and to another episode where I shine a spotlight on an excellent compilation from yesteryear. And yeah, today I'll be talking about The Invisible Pyramid, a double CD released by Last Visible Dog in 2003. Now, if you've checked out any of my cassette review videos lately, then you'll have heard me talk about the insanely huge global explosion of experimental, drone and ambient music that came about in the late 2000s and early 2010s, spearheaded by artists like Spencer Clark and James Ferraro. As hard as it is mostly to truly pinpoint where certain scenes first arose from, I don't think it'd be entirely incorrect to state that a lot of that stuff was at least partly informed by the even bigger wave of music that flooded the underground just a few years prior. Yeah, steadily gaining momentum since the 80s, then eventually exploding in popularity at the turn of the century, thanks to the internet and a fair bit of magazine and newspaper coverage. This was a heady mixture of folk, psychedelia, free improvisation, noise, jazz, and avant-garde electronics, of which compilations like The Invisible Pyramid and its hulking 6-disc sequel, Elegy Box, provide a neat snapshot. Speaking of press coverage, if you read Wire magazine at all back in the early 2000s, you'll no doubt be familiar with their attempts to pin down just what this exciting and inspiring deluge of creativity was all about. Their writers dubbing it things like free folk or the new weird America movement, when, as this comp alone attests, it was always way too diverse and way too widespread to ever give it a convenient catch-all name or to credit it all to just one part of the world. Indeed, alongside the chunk of US contributions, The Invisible Pyramid sports music from New Zealand, Finland, Japan, and Argentina, though strangely nothing from the UK, or anywhere else for that matter. Yeah, thankfully the aforementioned Elegy Box makes up for this disappointing geographical oversight. Still though, this double CD features a pretty stellar lineup in spite. Representing the USA, we have personal favourite acts like Charalambides, true front-runners in this scene, whose creepy, low-key stretch of guitar and microtonal pedal steel improv is beamed in from the same claustrophobic Texan sweatbox as full lengths of theirs like Unknown Spin, whilst Pelt's rusted offering of groaning, low-tuned strings and knackered old hurdy-gurdy wheeze sounds desperately in need of some WD-40. Pelt man Mike Gangloff also teams up with the one-time Paisley Underground musician Karl Precoda for a piece entitled John Dee's Dream, a suitably somnambulant, spacious improv comprising mostly of modal piano flourishes and cymbal splashes, with occasional snatches of electronic droning. Elsewhere, Tara Burke's Fursaxa project delivers a sweet, mellow campfire folk tune with some mildly psychedelic touches. Nice stuff, but pretty straightforward compared to a more layered, loop-heavy material. Then, courtesy of the wonderful Jeweled Antler, which was both a label and a larger artistic collective, who deserve a whole acid trash video of their own someday, we get the Brit folk-styled acoustic arpeggios and high, lonesome vocal drift of Glenn Donaldson's Birdtree project, plus a sliver of skull-vibrating feedback hum and distant piano tinkling from Thusa, the collective's flagship improv group. Also of note are the short fragments of Cusp of a Dream ambience from Drona Parva, the solo alias of Nemo Bidstrup, who also ran the Time Lag label, another very important imprint as far as this whole scene was concerned. At the more rocking end of the US equation, we find the mathy time signature shifts and post-rock atmospherics of subarachnoid space, who I'm otherwise unfamiliar with, and Nebraska's MCMS, whose raw, wasted, slow-motion doom psych jamming is peppered with just a hint of bluesy desert twang. One act that you can usually rely on to bring the fuzzed-out sludge is Philadelphia's Bardo Pond, though surprisingly, their piece here, Thirsty Sect, is a predominantly acoustic raga workout with a stoned, cultic flavour. Travelling south, we find Argentinian legends Reynolds, whose 4-part suite closes disc 1 with a mix of ghostly, feedback-drenched meandering, nightmarish organ atonality, a cappella crooning, and monochordal krautrocking. From Japan, we get a pair of projects. Firstly, Karma, which was the one-off duo of Acid Mother's temple leader, Makoto Kawabata, and a lady named Roco, who opened the comp with a half-good, half-dodgy assemblage of tight guitar loops overlaid with assorted spacey weirdness, and sloppy, haphazard drone jamming. Also sloppy but much more convincing is Doka Nemo by Miminokoto, a ragged but impassioned waltz ballad, the highlight of which is the crazy distorted outro, where the trio are barely holding it together. Yeah, originally fronted by the impeccably coiffed Masami Kawaguchi, alongside the likes of Uptight and LSD March, Miminokoto are one of numerous Japanese groups formed between the 90s and early 2000s, who firmly worship at the feet of psychedelic noise rock legends like Keiji Haino's Fushitsusha, Les Rallies Denuda, and of course the Velvet Underground. As for the Finnish stuff, if you're at all familiar with any of that country's experimental groups from this era, then it won't come as much of a surprise to learn that their contributions here are altogether more playful and light-hearted than much of what surrounds them, especially the Avarus piece, which sounds like a bunch of excitable robots banging pots and pans on board a spaceship, while Jan Andersson's Kemialliset Ystävät give us an atonal pile-up of voices, acoustic twanging, and electronic squiggles, which segue into a snippet of communal folk jamming, with tribal pulse drumming under soft droning flutes. As far as the New Zealand contingent is concerned, Campbell Neal's Birchville Cat Motel has long been a favourite project of mine. His piece here, a mass of fractured, reverb-heavy violin drones of indeterminate length which slip and slide over and around each other as hazy, airy tones sound in the background, isn't his finest work by any stretch, but it still fits in well. Then improv units like Flies Inside the Sun and Sando's Lab Technicians give us woozy, dual organ shimmering, and eccentric, rubber band bass tonalities, respectively, whilst Clinton Williams' mysterious Omit project presents us with the dark, alien synth pulsing, industrial metallic clatter, and bit-crushed drum machine beats of Dip. Disc 2 coming to a close with the bowed 12-string guitar dronage of Peter Wright. So, a cool compilation overall that still mostly holds up, 20 years after I first discovered it. Just to reiterate, not everything contained here is necessarily peak artistic output. Some of the cuts coming off as a touch unfocused or uninspired when put under the microscope. Though played start to finish, the Invisible Pyramid still has enough going for it to entertain. As I say, providing a pretty good cross-section of the scene as a whole. So yeah, if you're new to this stuff and you're looking for some kind of entry point, then this is a pretty good place to begin. Okay, so that's it for today. Expect even more content on music like this in the not too distant future. In the meantime, please do check out the archive, where you'll find loads more videos covering equally cool stuff. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again soon on the Acid Trash Jamboree.